Good afternoon, folks. Here we are again with the second part of the video regarding the uSDX. Today I haven't really done that much to it, to be fair, but what I have done is I have now mounted the 3.5mm jack sockets, the control and the switches, and also the microphone. As we can see, and also the header for the external connection. As you can see, they're all soldered in. Hopefully, I think you'll think the job should be fine. Oh, there's one I've missed. This one down here. Oh, there you go. Just as well I'm doing that. So there you go. I did say to you yesterday that we'd be fully honest about this build, and it's easy to make mistakes, and it's also easy to miss things. So it's always a good idea once you've finished your work to check. Well, obviously I haven't, so there you go. I'm putting my hands up and telling you that. But anyway, the soldering seems to be fine. Everything's okay. Everything's on. So we're quite happy with that. And also we've actually tested it. I know this hasn't been soldered in, but this is the display. But what I did too at the moment is I fitted the diode I explained to you about for the 8-volt mod. It needs a diode basically because we don't want to backfeed 12 volts into the 5-volt line, or 8 volts into that 5-volt line. That would probably cause a considerable amount of damage. So we need this diode to isolate so that it doesn't backfeed. So on the USB we'll get slightly less than the 5 volts because we've got the forward voltage to take care of in the diode, but using a Schottky it's around about 0.2 of a volt, so we get about 4.8 volts, probably maybe 4.7 on this, whereas if we were using a silicon diode you've got a 0.6 volt drop, so it could make the display slightly duller when you're using the USB mode. But the next thing to do today probably is to mount the what do you call it, the 8-volt regulator. And what we do is we take the input to the regulator comes from the 12-volt supply, and it then goes to the regulator's earth, and of course the output goes to this. Now the only downside of that, I have to say, there is always a downside with everything you do. The regulator will drop out if your voltage drops without a bit of headroom for that regulator. So that will, and your display will go off. That is the downside. But I think to be fair, we're going to be either running USB for very low power, like half a watt, or we're going to use something around about 12 volts, 11 volts, etc. 11.1 from 3 lithium-ion batteries is going to be fine. The regulator won't drop out at that, but it will need probably around about 1 to 2 volts. So probably I would say around about 10ish, maybe 10.1 volts. You may find it starts to drop out and the LED, the OLED goes off. But there we go. That could be a small downside if you want to use maybe about 7 or 8 volts, etc. But there we go. Anyway, so there's one more wire to go onto the C1 connection, which will go to the regulator, and the regulator will sit on the actual board itself somewhere around about here. But we'll have to see exactly. I don't have a surface mount regulator, but I've got one of the 7805s, which not 05s. 7808, I think it is you call it. Let me see. I don't know where I put them. But it's just a small case. It's not the big case. So it should fit in behind this, okay, or to one side. But maybe slight advantage having the smaller display because there's a little bit more room to play with. But there we go. Anyway, so that's the plan. We'll see if that part of it's going to work, or we're going to actually have the room to fit it. If we don't, we won't be going down that road. We'll just leave it as it is. So we'll see anyway before we proceed any further. Okay, doke. So that's today's progress. I'll resolder this. Well, I will solder this connection that I have missed, and that's it probably for today. We may do that. We might, if we get time, do the the actual fitting of the 8-volt regulator, but that's time dependent. Okay, thanks guys for looking to the second part of this build. As I say, just finally before I do go, this part of the build is not difficult. So long as you've got good soldering practice, and if necessary a magnifying glass or even one of those headband magnifiers, you'll do fine. The bigger problem is going to be on the RF board, especially as we're changing this one towards the higher frequency bands, the classic bands. That could turn into a bit of an issue, but anyway, this part of the build should not pose a problem, and if it does, you're going to struggle with the RF board. That I will say. Anyway, that's it. Thanks guys for looking. We'll catch up soon with the third part. Thank you. Bye for now.